On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very abundant treat. She's a globally acclaimed motivational speaker, a New York Times bestselling author, and a powerhouse of transformation and empowerment, just to name a few. Truly a trailblazer, she transformed her life from a struggling single mom on public assistance to becoming the CEO of Motivating the Masses, whose global platform has reached nearly 80 million people. No big deal. Her journey is a testament to resilience and determination, showcasing that it's indeed possible to rise above any circumstance and achieve greatness while unapologetically making millions of dollars doing so. Big facts. Her impactful work, including her best-selling books such as No Matter What and her appearances on platforms such as Oprah and the global phenomenon The Secret, have inspired millions globally, and her content will penetrate your soul. Through her nonprofit foundation, Motivating the Teen Spirit, she has touched the lives of over 270,000 teens, prevented over 3,800 teen suicides, supported 2,500 dropouts in returning to school, and has helped thousands reunite with families, which I deeply admire. Her light spreads far, deep, and wide. She's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and an extraordinary human being. Please welcome the relentless, empowering, dynamic, and abundant, the beautiful, brilliant, and compassionate Lisa
Mm.
Nichols. How you doing, Lisa?
Wow. Can I just say thank you so much for that generous and wonderful, awe-inspiring introduction. If I could turn red, it'd be a deep shade of burgundy right now. Uh, but thank you so much, Craig, for your kindness and your love and your acknowledgement. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Well, I'm so glad I did good by you. I put a lot of effort into it,
it.
and
You
like,
did.
yeah,
You
well,
left me speechless, and that doesn't happen often.
mission accomplished. But like I always like to say to a lot of our mutual friends, it's your story. You wrote it. I just said it with a little bit of enthusiasm.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for the journey. Looking back in the rearview mirror at the journey. It's great to hear how someone of your stature and your commitment relates to the work, because it's your relationship to it that causes that introduction. And so I'm grateful, because I think often as change makers, we are wondering who's impacted. Does it work? Is someone doing something that they didn't think that they'd do? So I'm grateful for the reflection.
Yeah, beautifully said. I'm already moved. This is going to be so much fun. For our listeners, in case you weren't familiar, my best suggestion is do a deep dive, check out all the unbelievable stuff she has going on. What I think is most valuable today is we should have an unbelievable conversation. And we're going to talk about all the things that you have coming up, legendary speaker challenge, and so forth. But before we dive in, we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me?
I'm always ready to get weird and strange.
Lisa, when you wake up every day, for you personally, what are some non-negotiables?
Mm, I love that. Non-negotiable. To take in my view. I I I have the pleasure of having a view of the mountains that man could not create. Woman could not create, brilliant people could not create it. It could only be created by a power greater than us. I call him God, you call him whatever you choose, but I take in my views so that I remember that I am a small part of a small, significant part of a very big plan. And any problem I think is huge is minuscule compared to what's possible. So the mountains and the water, large bodies of water, remind me that great things, much greater than the challenge I'm working with, can be done. So that's a non-negotiable. Another non-negotiable is that I talk to my husband, and that before I give my time, energy, brilliance, love to the world, that I talk to my husband. And the third non-negotiable is that I list several things that I'm proud of that I've done. Lisa, I'm proud that you. And then I say, Lisa, I forgive you for. I cut any shackles, conscious or unconscious, to blame, shame, guilt, regret, and anger. So anything, and I don't know the answer when I say I forgive you for, I let whatever comes up come out. So the first sentence is, Lisa, I'm proud that you. The second sentence is, Lisa, I forgive you for. And then the last thing that I do, Craig, is I say, Lisa, I commit to you that. I make several commitments to myself before I start committing to everyone else. So in essence, I spend time with God and the vastness of the abilities of the divine. I spend time with my husband, and I celebrate Lisa, forgive Lisa, and make commitments to Lisa. And I do all of that before I get out of bed. And I wake up at about 5, about 5:10, 5:15 in the morning. And then I get out of bed at about 5:45 and get dressed to work out at 6. And so I do all of that inside of 30 minutes. So I don't spend a long time doing it, but I do it about 30, 40 minutes.
But isn't that the good stuff? And we live in a day and age where, like, if you went on social media, you see someone's morning routine is like 6 hours long, 100 different things they have to do. But the stuff that you just said that you're all about, non-negotiable, is exactly what's relatable to me. And we know, like, to stay in shape, we have to be physically fit.
Yeah.
What about staying mentally fit, right?
Yeah.
Especially with what you do, because you're empowering so many people on a day-to-day basis. Like, you have to charge yourself in the morning, right? Get
Yes.
yourself ready and charge up. And what better way to do that than to connect? If we want to go higher, we have to go deeper, right?
Yeah. And I think it's important to understand that as a form of self-care, I don't want to serve people from my cup.
Mm.
What's in my cup belongs to me. But I do want to serve people from my overflow. And so what I do each morning puts me in overflow so that I can serve you, I can serve anyone else from my saucer, not my cup. Now, my job is to keep my cup overflowing, so I got a lot in my saucer to serve. Because there was one time when I served from my cup. And when you serve from your cup, you begin to feel exhausted and overwhelmed. You begin to feel resentful and angry. We've all been there before. You begin to feel like time is always running out. And so I don't want to touch that place again. And so it's my responsibility to not only be a servant leader and not only be a service provider, but to do it with gratitude, to do it with responsibility, and to serve others after I've served myself. I tell people, you have a long line. When you're a mover and shaker, Craig, like you got a long line of people waiting to be served by you. Your job is that you must always stay at the front of your own line. And so my morning 30 minutes, 40 minutes is about me staying at the front of my own.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And something that comes to mind is you're staying connected, right? By
Yeah.
prioritizing and doing that. And it's very easy these days to become disconnected, but not if you have that practice. And then you can always reconnect if you get off track.
Yeah, and it's important for us as leaders. And I'm assuming if you're listening to this show, you're a leader, you're a change maker, you're a gladiator, you're a unicorn, and we all have our own tribe. We have our own zip code. We have our own universe. Like we all live on our own planet inside this planet. There's this planet called Earth, and then there's the planet that unicorns live on Earth. But it's important as a unicorn and as a change maker, as a gladiator, it's important to understand the need to refuel and the need to charge up. And because many of the things we do are shiny. My biggest mistakes are people will like them on Facebook, the things that I call a mistake, I would get likes on. So I got to be careful that I'm dancing to my own rhythm. I'm dancing to my own sound. And then I share my sound, my unique sound with you. And you find your rhythm inside my sound, but you're dancing to your unique rhythm. And we find our dance together. I don't think that you can show up for everyone else without knowing what you stand for, else you'll lose your own dance. I looked up in 1998. I'll date myself. I looked up in 1998. My son was 3 years old, and I didn't know my rhythm. All I knew myself to be was his mother, a brand new motivational speaker, someone's fiance, and a relationship that was failing. And I remember I lost Lisa. And by the grace, my mother intervened. And she said, "You're not who you've always been. Let's find you." And so holding on to Lisa is sacred to me. Because if I give you more of me, then ideally the light that I shine, the Lisa light, the Craig light, the Lisa light that only I could shine will illuminate bright enough where you see a small glimpse or a large glimpse of who Craig is becoming.
Yeah. This is unbelievable. I think about like everyone talks about what you have to add to be successful. I like to talk about what can we let go of. And one thing for me is when I was really inauthentic, trying to find myself on Wall Street before I was doing this, I finally let go of trying to be something I wasn't. And I was finally found Craig. And I picture like our light and we remove a veil from it, right? Because our light
Yeah,
never goes out, it just becomes concealed. But by
absolutely.
removing the veil, we're able to shine a little bit brighter and then connect and find
Absolutely.
ourselves.
Absolutely. It's to the point that I say you don't discover your light, you uncover your light.
Ooh.
Like you don't discover your light. I want to discover what's in me. You don't discover, I want to uncover what's in me. It's who I've always been. It's in your DNA. You were born this great person. You just got caught up in the stories people told you. You got caught up in someone else's limiting beliefs of you. You got caught up in someone's twisted perception of who they thought you should be. And all of a sudden you stop becoming. I say the greatest thing you can constantly do is become. Continue to become. I'm excited about who I'm becoming. I can't wait to uncover her. I can't wait to see what else is in. And so, I love what you said a moment ago. In order to go high, you got to go in. You got to go to roots. You got to root to rise. Like we all want to root to rise because the more you're rooted, the higher you can rise. When you look at a building, buildings will topple over. Buildings will be collapsed. But in the midst of the greatest storm ever, trees don't fall down. They can even be struck by lightning and the top will come, but the roots are untouched. The roots and the trees don't fall over like buildings will fall over because the roots run deep. And I think this is a season with all that's happened to us and all that is still happening to us. This is the season to get rooted, then rise.
That's where we drop the mic, but we're just getting warmed up. I love the analogy too with trees. It's so good. So many places we could take this conversation. I want to make the most of every second. Another thing that you talk about often, even from when I first saw The Secret, is you talk about uh, a knowing and a trusting. But when I hear knowing, I think I know what you mean. It's hard to get to, but I imagine a lot of the audience right now are like, I think I believe something, but how do you get to a knowing?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking my language now. Like I literally got chills on the back of my neck as you were saying that. And as I began to feel what you said, a knowing is the willingness to release the need to manage other people's perception of you. We spend so much time trying to manage other people's perception of us. It's to let that go, like you talked about, release, let go, unveil, and then to get into who you know yourself to be. Your soul is already telling you who you are. Your desires are already trying to come out. Your desires are saying, or your realness, who you are, saying, let me out. And when you get to a knowing, it's when you move every other option off the table and you sit with the I know, like I know, like I know, like I know. Your cells know it to be true. Your cells know it to be so. And you stop negotiating with your limiting beliefs. You stop negotiating with the, well, what if? What if it doesn't work? What if I lose my money? What if I get into this relationship and I get hurt again? Every time you what if a dream, you poke a hole in the possibility balloon. Every time, the possibility of who you can become, the possibility of what impact you can create, the possibility of what income you can generate. Every time you go into all the what ifs, there's 1,000 what ifs. Stop giving real estate to the what if and give some real estate to the I know, like I know, like I know. And when you walk into the I know, all of a sudden you move with a sense of certainty, Craig. I know, I didn't know how I was going to inspire millions. I just knew, like I knew, like I knew I was supposed to. I just knew, like I knew, like I knew it was my birthright. I knew that where I started was not where I was supposed to be. I knew it was my starting point. I can feel it in my cells. And I didn't spend time trying to prove it again to me. Even though nothing in my physical, you have to understand something about a knowing. Nothing And if you're listening to me, I want you to type in chat somewhere in this community, nothing in your physical environment has to agree with what you know to be so. See, we wait until the external environment agrees with what we believe to be so. I say, when you know, like you know, like you know, like you know, don't wait for the evidence to appear to know it. Know it, then you command the evidence to appear. But that's a different kind of walk. That's not, you're not looking for, see, when you walk like that, you're not looking for cosigners. You the only signature required on the document called possibility. Like I signed it and it is so. And then you begin to gather witnesses because you walk and talk and move and groove like it's so.
Yeah, this is epic. I couldn't agree more. And there are tools that we can use, right, to utilize the system and so forth. And one thing that you mentioned there was like limiting beliefs. And I'd love to hear your sense, but I look at those as an opportunity from the creator to overcome. And when we can exercise resistance and not giving into the temptation to make us play small, to think that we can't, then we can even create more growth and expansion and take the veil over our light and be available for the miracle, the abundance, that opportunity, the good news, and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, limiting beliefs and toxic behaviors and old mindsets, all of that's an opportunity. All of that's an opportunity. I am confident, not cocky, about the woman that I am today because I know the limiting beliefs that she navigated. I am confident, not cocky today, certain. I live in my certainty about what's possible because of the old behaviors that I climbed over to create a new version of Lisa. It's those things that I turned from sinking sand to my platform. I'm not where I am in spite of my limiting beliefs and in spite of my behaviors. I'm where I am because of them. I know how to get people unhooked because I know what unhooking looks like. But you have to realize that most people are looking for the convenience of transformation. And transformation and convenience don't exist on the same block. My grandmother used to say, baby, your conviction and your convenience don't live on the same block. And most people are looking for convenience in transformation, or convenience in a happy life, or convenience in joy. And I'm not saying it's always supposed to be difficult, but I am saying your job is to sign up for the whatever it takes, the no matter what, not just the high roads. And so a part of that is the carefrontation. I'll say carefrontation other than confrontation. The carefrontation of the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that you get to graduate from. I believe that graduation is necessary. We all graduate, and we don't have enough graduation celebrations in life. I graduated from being a procrastinator. I graduated from being afraid of my power. I graduated from thinking that I would be hurt my next. I graduated from all those belief systems when I moved into another one. And so when you look at it like that, it's like, let's have some graduations this year.
This is a 10-figure conversation. If somebody has the consciousness to consume it and apply it. And it's funny because that big next level of expansion for all of us, I think there's a misconception. It doesn't feel or look like sunshine and rainbows. It looks like pain and suffering, right, and all that stuff. But that's the flashlight telling you on the other side of that is the transformation, is the expansion. And I couldn't love what you said more. And I run marathons and stuff, and I recently got into running and I love marathons. Like, it's been a few years now, but that's just one example. Obviously, we're talking about life stuff, but right, it kills you. It's excruciating, but if on the other side of that, a whole nother level of expansion and transformation takes place. Nobody said it was going to be easy.
Yeah. Your internal revolution will not be televised. Your internal revolution will not be televised, should not be televised. This message started with a mess. And there are times to develop the message, you have to navigate through the mess. So yeah, it doesn't come with flowers. It doesn't come with roses. It doesn't come with a red carpet and an invitation list, guest list. It doesn't come with that. It comes with a lot of choices. Your life is a culmination of all the choices you've made up until now. And when you want to take yourself to the next level, you got to assess all your choices you made. how they got you here. And then you got to decide to make some new choices. Now, and new choices, some the same, some very different. Do you know the mental battle you will put yourself through when you're expanding and you're moving into a place of unfamiliar? Let me tell you why. Because the brain is more committed. I need you to get this if those of you are listening. Your brain is more committed to a familiar, keyword familiar, write this down and circle the word familiar, discomfort, than it is to an unfamiliar new possibility. I'm going to say it again for those who learn like me. Your brain is more committed to a familiar discomfort, something you don't even like, but it's familiar, than it is to an unfamiliar circle and underline, unfamiliar new possibility. That tells us, even though you say you want more, your mouth is saying, oh my God, I want that life. I want that relationship. I want that body size. I want that body shape. I want that car. I want that environment. If it causes you to move into an unfamiliar territory, most people will hesitate because we don't want to be in the unknown. We like knowing. Which is why people stay in unhealthy relationships. They stay in jobs they hate. They stay in a body they don't like because they know it. I know this chaos. I don't know that possibility. Man, how many times I've taught my students that, because they come to me and they say, Lisa, I want to learn how to transform lives. I want to learn how to speak with impact. I want to get on stages. I want to travel the world having impact. And because it's the unknown, even though I will give them every step of exactly how I did it. And oh, by the way, I never got a hookup. So the way I'm giving you has a proven formula, a proven track record. They still won't do it. Some will. They're 1% will, because they're more committed to seeing who they can become. But most people have to make a decision. I want to know more about who I'm becoming than be comfortable in who I've been.
And you're speaking directly to my soul, and I have contrast. It took me 35 years to, some, depending on who you ask, might say that's young, some might say that's older. I'm just happy that it happened.
Right.
And
Amen.
it finally arrived at me. But the pain has to be so excruciating of staying the same, right?
Yeah.
Than to
Yeah,
try,
yeah.
and everyone, so many people know, everyone really, that like if I start a speaking engagement, I usually say, who here thinks or knows that they're here for something more than they're currently set up for? And everybody raises their hand.
Yeah.
But like you said, very few will lean in.
Sign up for the cost.
Yeah.
I always say, don't sign up for the outcome. Sign up for the cost. Because if you sign up for the cost, the outcome will take care of itself. I say yes to every hour that I don't get to sleep. I say yes to every plane ride that I have to make. I say yes to every hard decision. I say yes to all of that if it means living in my purpose. Now, once you say yes to that, then man, you don't have to worry about the cost. And I always say, be ready for the cost. Be ready for the cost, because if you don't see who you're becoming, and if you don't play full out, 35 is wonderful. But when you get to the last part of your days, the last 5 years of your life, let's pray that that's somewhere 90 years from now, right? But when you get to the last 5 years, the higher cost is looking back and wondering who you could have become if you had played full out. Who could you have been if you had played full out? If you didn't allow your fear to navigate your inactivity? If you didn't allow your what ifs to poke holes in your possibility balloon? Who you could have been? That price to me is much, much higher than me saying, I'll get one less hour sleep. I'll run and leap, Craig. I'll run and leap at the risk of falling. I'd rather fall and have to figure out how to put myself back together again, because then I get to tell the story. I ran and I took the leap. And I believe in our final days, and my grandmother transitioned 3 years ago, and I used to interview my grandmother all the time. She was just a hoot. And I interviewed her. She was a hoot. I interviewed her in her final days, and I said, Grandma, what would you do differently? And she, I said, what do you wish you would have done? And she thought about it. She said, I did that. I did that too. And she literally took like 8 minutes of reflection, and she kept saying, I did that. I said, Grandma, what was that? I'm not telling you. She'd do a little giggle and she'd go, I'm not telling you that one. But she took inventory of her entire journey and she said, baby, I don't have anything that I wished I would have done. I did it all. And I was blown away when she transitioned. I was almost nervous because I didn't mourn the way I thought I would mourn, because my grandmother was one of my best friends, literally one of my best friends. And I didn't mourn the way I traditionally had mourned or anyone else. And I truly believe it was because I knew she had no regrets.
Mm,
And so who am I to be so selfish that I want to keep her when she's done it all?
yeah.
She said, I did it all. And then she said, baby, I did it all. And some of it I even did twice. I said, okay, grandma.
That's awesome. And it makes perfect sense to me that you grieved a little bit differently because
Yeah,
she went all in, right? It's
yeah.
like I picture like a car leaving the dealership. Like you don't want to get to the end of it like in dealership quality. You want to be run out, like abused, and you know what I'm saying? Like you gave
I,
everything you got.
I always tell people when I sit down, I truly want to rest in peace. And the only way I can protect my peace is that I play so full out right now that I go, oh, all right, I'm done. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Look, then I go, Craig, tag you it. you go. You go. I done did my part. I done ran my leg of the marathon and I ran hard. I ran it full out. My hamstring is hurting. My quads are hurting. My triceps are hurting. My neck is hurting. My earlobe is hurting. And I don't even know how I got that way. That's how I want to be. I want to have no regrets in my DNA.
Yeah.
I want to have no regrets in my story.
Yeah.
That when I tell my history, her story, her story,
Uh,
when I tell mine, I want my story to be, hold on. If you read my chapter 4, you'll see that I was diagnosed as clinically depressed. If you read my chapter 4, you'll see that I was emotionally and physically abused. If you read my chapter 8, you'll see that I was 93 pounds overweight for 19 years of my life. If you read my chapter 6, you'll see that I thought I'd never get love. But hold on. Don't stop reading yet. Because chapter 19 gets good. And chapter 26, oh, the way she trimmed down and the way she picked herself back up in my chapter 36. You got to read the way I fell in love. I want to write a full story. And I believe we all have the birthright to write a full story. And what hurts my heart and what saddens me is some people are living in their chapter 4 and cutting and pasting their chapter 4 and cutting and pasting their chapter 4 until their chapter 24.
mm,
Not realizing that you have the pen and you get to write your story. I'm just a believer of that.
yeah. And it's oozing out of you, and I couldn't agree more. And it's our movie, right? You can always ask, why did something happen in my movie? Or we could change the cast of characters, even the geographic location. We have the pen to write the next scene.
Ashe, ashe.
Which is unbelievable. Um, Again, there's so many places we could take this. I wanted to ask you a common thing that I see often, and you were kind of just hitting on the transformation of what's required, and I love it. There's a lot of people out there you mentioned are not happy with what they're doing, hate their job, relationships. How do people identify or maybe get clarity on what their purpose is? Because the highest form of motivation is being connected to your mission, like you are, obviously. How can
Mhm.
people get a little bit more clarity or identify what their purpose is so they can go all in on that?
So I'm going to go in the opposite direction of what I hear a lot of people going. Everyone wants you to run or ramp up. I'm going to say, be still and hear your quiet. Sometimes the best thing you can do is shut up.
Mm,
Don't talk, don't teach, don't run. Just and almost like apologize to your soul if you've been running. I had to apologize to my soul in December. I said, I'm sorry. I've been so running with my agenda. I haven't stopped to listen to you. What are you wanting right now? What are you needing right now? So number one, the first thing is quiet some of the chatter. Quiet the chatter of fear that I'm getting too old, fear of how am I going, how am I going to live out this third quarter? Some of us are in the first quarter, some of us are in the second quarter. I love basketball. Some of us are in the third quarter, some of us are in the fourth quarter, and you determine the quarters. They're not by traditional age. But not by traditional age. I'm relatively young and I feel like I'm in my fourth quarter because I'm in my legacy years. The best thing I could do is tell you as much as I know. The best thing I can do is turn your decades into days. That's the best thing I could do, is invest my time investing in you while you're serving millions. I've served millions over and over and over and over again. So now I just want to serve people who serve millions. I'm hosting a mastermind tomorrow in that living room right there. For the first time ever in my career, I'm hosting 13 gladiators who touch millions, showing them how to collapse decades into days. That's all I'm doing for them, saving them time, stress, and money. That's the best use of my time in this season, right? And that's a fourth quarter move. That's 27 years in this industry. Now I go, hold on, let me save you 10 or 15. Let me cut your learning curve. And so when you look at what that means, the first thing I do is go, here's what I love. The question to ask to find your purpose is, and this is going to sound morbid, but it's true. If we killed you off today, and let's just say today we're writing your obituary, and there are 4 people that's going to speak at your funeral, what are they going to say about your life? What kind of man were you? What kind of contribution did you bring? Be very detailed. What did your philanthropic work do in the world? What kind of father were you? What kind of friend were you? And what body of work, what body of content, what body of awareness did you bring into the world that didn't exist the way it exists now because you were born? What's going to be sad? Now, let's write your obituary. Now, let's spend the next 30 years making sure your obituary reads correct. That's like, when I do my executive coaching clients, and I play with game changers, and in our very first session, I kill them. Let's write your obituary. They're like, what? I got so much to live for. I got so much to do. Yes, you're right. But let's make sure you're busy, being busy, doing the right thing that you want to read in your obituary. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world. And it's fun. There's so many synchronicities here, not a coincidence. When I reinvented myself, I did this eulogy exercise, which is basically what you just described, but you took it a step deeper. I didn't think about exactly what I wanted to say in 30 years. I just knew that I was so unsatisfied with what it currently said. And so I leaned into it and so forth. But I think that's such a powerful exercise for everybody that they can literally do right now after this conversation.
Right now, soon as you finish listening to this recording, do not turn this off. But let me tell you something, Craig. You did something key. Sometimes your biggest motivation is run from motivation. And that was mine. I was running from being on government assistance. I was running from having 3 fights a week. So I didn't know exactly what was out there. I just knew that what was back there, I needed to get as far away from as possible. So I wanted to make sure Jelani, my son, never ran out of money before he ran out of month. I want to make sure that Jelani never got kicked out of college like I got kicked out of college because he didn't have money to continue. I want to make sure that Jelani, so all that I was running from what I had experienced. As long as you know at some point you will run out of gas running from something, because you'll get far enough away from it that you'll stop being motivated by it. Because now you don't worry about that story. You're far enough away. You have to then, ideally, before you run out, you slow down, you got to run towards something. So, Craig, in essence, you and I were saying the exact same thing. I'm running to the obituary and what's being written. You're running from the story that would have been written. Totally okay, as long as those bridges meet before you slow down and stop. Not too much of a gap in between. And the reality is, if you are moving and shaking and producing something you don't want to continue, you probably need to know what you don't want first. And then let's decide what you do want. And that's okay. And you got to watch out, because a lot of motivational speakers, transformational leaders, we can get very woo-woo and Pollyanna. Life's great. and let's run toward the pink and blue clouds. And the reality is, no, I want to know how to eliminate my black clouds of loneliness, that everyone in my family is disappointed in me, that I have money, but I don't have satisfaction. You got to address that. And that's the difference between motivation and transformation. A motivational speaker is designed to make you topically excited. An inspirational speaker is designed to make you think about a better life and actually want it. Both are very necessary. I'm not throwing any shade on either one. I've played both roles. But when you do transformational speaking and training, you actually have to sign up to go to someone's shadow and help them shine a light on their shadow. So
That was so beautifully articulated. I haven't heard that like this. I just love this so much. And speaking of transformational speaking, we're gonna drive this episode, and right then you have a legendary speaker challenge coming out in March. And I'm just curious, you do so many things and you empower so many people in so many different ways, creating transformations. How come the speaker challenge, and how come right now? Why are you so connected to that?
because so many people, thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of speakers and trainers, entrepreneurs, leaders, corporate leaders have asked me, can you help me with speaking? And they also say, can you help me have a breakthrough in this area? And this speaker challenge, while it says speaker challenge, what makes it unique is it's the first time that I fuse the soul of speaking with the science of speaking. Because most people who are speaking, they understand the formalities. They haven't put the supercharge underneath it to make you unforgettable because you stirred someone's soul. So the best speakers ever have to blend in some transformation in their speaking, and they don't know how to do that. People who want to create change will never create change by being talented on stage. You'll create change by creating a force of change coming through your message. That's not overnight. You don't just learn that. Listen, I play with the best of the best. You know that.
Yeah.
Those are my boys. Those are my girls in the industry. And they're the ones who made me aware that I needed to teach this. I didn't sign up to teach this. My 8-figure and 9-figure friends said, when we speak good. When you speak, you're unforgettable. We want to know how. And so
Facts.
I actually said no initially because I didn't know how to take my unconscious competence and make it a framework.
Mm.
So I spent 10 years making this gift a skill set, and then a transferable skill set, an awareness. And for the last 7 years, we have been making people explosive on stage, whether it be in their boardrooms at Google, at Amazon, Wells Fargo, or whether it be on stages all around the world in Dubai and in Senegal, or whether it be inside of their businesses or on a podcast. And it literally is taking the science of speaking, and there are 16 techniques that make up the science of speaking, and 20 altogether when you look at the business, and then fusing it with the soul of speaking, which is a real consciousness on several modalities, several ways of being, living, and doing, that actually adds fuel to every single thing you touch. When I was first on The Secret, and then I went on to be on Oprah and Larry King and Good Morning America and that whole track of things, I didn't know at this time, it was an unconscious competence, Craig. I didn't know the superpower. I wasn't aware of the superpower called my oration ability. Now I have called it techniques, but I didn't know about the techniques then. And I know this is going to sound crazy, and I'm not saying this to brag at all. I have nothing to prove at all. My biggest challenge, Craig, was that every time I went on a show, it felt like everything I touched turned to gold. But I didn't have a bucket big enough to hold the goal. I didn't have a team big enough. I didn't have a back-end system, a CRM big enough. I didn't have enough. When I was on Oprah, I never gave out an email. Within 72 hours, I received 9,782 emails in the email box that somebody had to open. 9,782 emails. It took us weeks of people being angry at us. And it kept happening over and over and over again. I go on a national show one time, I get invited back 4 times. Steve Harvey, 6 times. Dr. Phil, 5 times. Like I just kept, and I'm like, what is going on? And it was a tsunami that I was creating that I didn't know I was creating it. And I thought every teacher in The Secret was having this experience until I realized that was so not the case. And then I distilled it down with my friend's help. It was the techniques that I didn't know I was doing that I did every time. So now I've learned how to bottle them up and give them to others so that you can have your experience with them. And so that's the Legendary Speakers Challenge, which I'm so excited. It literally is so fresh. It's not 1 year old now. It's not even 1 year old.
Yeah, it's such a gift. Thank you for the work that you, and I love what you said there, because the all-time greats, which you are, sometimes when you're natural at something, or when you do it and you've done it for so long, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can make it transferable into a framework that someone else can grasp, but you've done that so well. And I'm so pumped for this. And also, when you act like that channel, and our gifts aren't ours, that were given to us, and you share without an agenda, with the right consciousness, that's when it all comes back to you. So when you were just talking about the impacts that you made on those shows, no surprise to me.
Amen. Can I just say this? I appreciate that acknowledgement, because it wasn't easy for me to figure out how to take a gift and hone it and make it into steps and stages. And I was afraid I'd do it wrong. But I was more afraid that this gift would die in me. I was more afraid, and I started feeling guilty and irresponsible. And my really good friend, Jack Canfield, he had been asking me for 10 years. 10 years, he was asking me to teach him how to do what I do on stage. And I kept playing it down like, you're Jack, you're Jack. And he was like, don't do that. Like, he's brilliant. He's been my mentor for years. And I just had to give myself credit that I actually had something that wasn't difficult for me, because so much of my building of my business was hard, like learning a P&L, learning profit margins, learning how marketing, freaking learning social media, like so much of it was hard that I didn't give enough value to this part because it was easy and effortless to me. And it took me 7 days of 10 to 14-hour days just to distill it down into the techniques. And then it took me 4 years to really believe, after I'm serving people and watching their lives change, to really believe that I had actually did it. And watching people go from an idea of being a speaker to a 6-figure speaker, watching my students take that journey, watching 6-figure business owners go to 7 and 8 figures, I required a lot of evidence before I said, okay, I think I've done it. And the last thing I'll say about that is I'm in my legacy years. I'm in my legacy years. It doesn't mean I'll stop soon, but it does mean I need to spend the majority of my time transferring as many skill sets from me out to you as possible. That shame on me if it dies in me. Shame on me if it sit down with me. And so I could say I'll be actively working like this for another 5 to 7 years. Not much after that. After that, I'll still do things, but I'll spend the majority of my time in villages in South Africa, in Swaziland, with young girls and young mothers, helping to build self-esteem. I'll do a lot of quiet work, but for the next 5 to 7 years, I want to be really, really noisy, helping to transfer as much skills as I have and as many people who are interested. And I dare I say, as many gladiators and leaders, because I want to spend my time leading leaders. And that's not to take anything away from anyone else, but the highest use of my time is to touch and teach the people that are touching and teaching people.
I've spoken to a lot of our mutual friends and people that are, very into this stuff. I don't know if I've ever spoken to someone so connected. Or it's just so beautiful, and just the right consciousness and everything that you do with the right intentions, and not needing recognition and with no agenda. And that's why the blessings are just pouring in this view, and I acknowledge you.
Thank you. It's servant leadership.
Yes.
It's servant leadership. I'm not a CEO. I'm a servant leader who holds the role as a CEO. I'm not an international speaker. I'm a servant leader who simply does international speaking to lead and to be a servant leader. And so it's understanding the divine calling on my life unequivocally. And if you don't know that calling on your life, asking the question consciously, what do I do now? Who do you want me? Every year in the month of November, I don't get on my knees, Craig. I get on my face. I get on my face and I say, well, this year was great. What do you want me to do now? What should I be up to now? And so my superpower is my willingness to surrender. My superpower is my willingness to be obedient, which is so funny that the world has surrender and obedience as weak characteristics. They're my superpower. My superpower is that I know the calling on my life. And if I don't know, I'm gonna be still to find it. And so I invite you, if you're listening, you are a unique, unrepeatable miracle. No one can do you but you. And if you don't do you, you will never be done. And I got to say, I learned that from the spiritual great Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith, my brother from another mother. And your job is to be done. Your job is to make sure that while you're here, you are completely unequivocally done, meaning your dash dances, your dash matters. The dash between your birthday and your transition day, it has to make a statement, whether it whispers like a Mother Teresa, it whispers a yell, or whether it glares a yell like a Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Or whether it's a Mahatma Gandhi and it speaks in its servanthood, your dash has a responsibility. Your dash is not meant to be silent, and your dash is not meant to be complacent. Your dash is meant to disrupt the fibers of this world because you were here. If I leave this world the way it was before I was born, shame on me. Why was I born? I'm a little, you said,
No, this
what
is
did you say?
great.
Did you say weird?
Let's
Did
get
you say
weird.
weird or strange? I'm okay.
Lisa, that was the most beautiful thing I ever heard. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you say done, our soul, and if we don't do us, we're gonna have to correct it, maybe in the next carnation, something like that.
You, your soul must be done. It
Yeah.
must be done. There's a message in your DNA as a story that must be told. And
Yeah.
if you don't tell it now, someone else is going to struggle trying to tell it. It's going to try to be told through a dog, or it's going to be told through a fly. It has to be told. Your job is to tell your story. Great and messy, highs and lows, scared and courageous, passionate and with purpose. Your story, you're to tell the tears and the triumph. Your job is to tell, and it's not all in oration. My job is to help you tell your story. That's what I do. That's what you do. My job is to help you articulate in such a way that your story lives in the DNA and fiber of someone else, so that it doesn't die with you. I was in the airport once in Nassau, and I walked into a restaurant, and as I sat down to eat my chicken noodle soup and drink my tea and wait on my plane, this guy jumped in the booth with me, scared the bejeebies out of me, like 6'8", beautiful, beautiful Bahamian man. And he immediately said, "Oh my God, I know your story about quitters never win and winners never quit. And you always came in last. And your grandmother told you weren't a quitter. And then I know the story about Tonka Toy. And you like Tonka Toys never quit. And Tonka Toys never." This man commences, Craig, to tell me about 6 stories, but he told them in detail. And the whole time I'm sitting like this, eating my chicken noodle soup, like, and he tells me all my own stories as if he were telling someone else. And at the end, he goes, "I'm sorry, I just had to tell you that I share your stories with everybody." I said, "No, this is good. Like, wow." And I was blown away with how this gentleman owned my stories, and he could articulate them in such a way that I wasn't inspired because he was sharing my story. I was inspired by the story he was sharing. Who cares who it belongs to? Who cares? Half the people he probably tells have never heard of me. But I was so inspired that this gentleman really owned the story. And at the end, I go to pay my bill, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. I took care of it." I said, "Oh, I didn't even see when you took care of the bill." He goes, "Oh, when I walked over to it. I own this restaurant. Come in here." You'll never pay when you come to this restaurant. Everyone knows you're not allowed to pay. Your money is not good in this restaurant. And I always go to the restaurant now, and I've never seen him again. It's been 4 years. I've never seen him again. I'm always in that particular restaurant and that particular airport. But he left an indelible impression on me because he showed me that my story doesn't belong to me. Your story doesn't belong to you. You've already lived it out. It belongs to someone else who can be inspired by it and can keep telling it and can keep inspiring forward about it. Your story is supposed to be in the world.
Yeah. And I just want to say, you said that he left an impression on you. Could you imagine the impression that you left on all the people that he told, who then told someone and so forth?
Right. And we all get to do that. See, what I love about my life is that I didn't get a hookup. I didn't get a hookup. I didn't get a hookup. I wasn't an AP student, I didn't even know what AP stood for. I wasn't an advanced placement student. My highest grade in school was a C plus. That was my highest grade. And if you ever tell the story, don't forget my plus. It was a C. And so what I love about what you just said was that I'm not extraordinary. And people want to make me extraordinary, because if you make me extraordinary, then you let yourself off the hook. See, I'm an ordinary woman who chooses every day to make multiple extraordinary decisions. I'll say it again. I'm an ordinary woman who chooses every day to make multiple extraordinary decisions. And guess what? I make so many extraordinary decisions that I then create an extraordinary life. And then you see me as extraordinary. But don't let yourself off the hook. Every day I get up, and sometimes I feel a little ache in my shoulder. I get up and I struggle with myself about, do you want to work out today? And my body says no, and my mind says yes. And I got to make sure my mind wins the conversation. I wonder at times, how did I attract such an amazing husband? Do I have all that it takes to keep him? Like all that stuff. I just know that and have the skill set to rise above my ordinary moments. I'll say that again. I wake up every day, same 24 as anybody else, same issues everyone else. I simply exercise the skill sets to rise above the situation every time I need to ascend to a higher level of living. And that's not to put anyone else down. That's just to say extraordinary is not an out. Extraordinary is a choice. Extraordinary is not a hookup. Extraordinary is not you were born extraordinary. I've never met anyone born extraordinary. I met people born and then they chose to be extraordinary. And so that's what I love about my life, is that when people see me, and I think this is what made me go viral everywhere all the time, because people tapped into my ordinary and then my choice to be extraordinary. And they went, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And I want that. I remember once a gentleman said, Lisa, he's a speaker with me when I was just getting started, and I looked up to him for a while, for a short minute. He said, you make yourself too attainable. You have to keep yourself above your audience, so they're always trying to get to you. And I went, wow, that probably is true for some people. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to make myself exactly with you and then show you how I climbed, and then invite you to put on your boots and strengthen your glutes and climb. That's what I like to do. So I learned very quickly that wasn't my path, that my superpower is celebrating that ordinary gets to become extraordinary by their choices, by your grind and your climb, by your commitment and your concern, by your compassion and your caring, by your tenacity and your transparency. I choose to make extraordinary attainable for everybody, which is why motivating the masses, not the chosen few, but the masses. And so, amen, that's what I love about the story, is that if I can do it, you can too.
Lisa, I can't think of a better soul on this planet to learn from when it comes to transformational speaking. So thank you for even offering this straight up. And you say that you're ordinary doing extraordinary things, maybe, but you're such a beautiful channel in the sense that you're utilizing the gifts that were given to you in such an intoxicating and expressive. It's so obvious that you're in alignment to the way you're supposed to be doing, because the way it transfers, soul penetrating.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. I take that to heart. And, when I do projects like the one that you mentioned, the Legendary Speakers Challenge, I love doing it for free. I love doing it for free. And mind you, I get a lot of kickback from my friends. Lisa, you can make millions. I go, I already have. I've done that. But I want to impact millions. And to me, if you chase impact, income will chase impact. But chase impact, because then you also cash in on the non-monetary currency. See, there's so much non-monetary currency, Craig, that feeling you got when you go to bed at night and you hear in your sales, job well done, my child. Ooh, non-monetary currency. When you've put it out there so much that a tsunami comes back to you while you're eating chicken noodle soup, and you get the influx of your efforts. And so when I do things, people are blown away how many things I do for free. Like, they're blown away. Like, you do a lot for free. Yeah, because I'm chasing impact. And then I generate income from my contribution. I don't chase income. Money is too absolute. It's too much of a done deal. There's too much of a high than a low. I got it, now what? But impact is the gift that keeps on giving. The first teenager that I ever put through my program, the first teen, her name is Tamil Williams. And when I discovered her, she had a 4.2 GPA, 4.2 GPA. She had been accepted to 6 colleges, and she had already handwritten her suicide letter. And she called me. It's back when people can get my number. And I look at Tamil, and she's a mental health professional now with a PhD. And her daughter is in an academic advanced private high school. I don't talk to Tamil often, but Tamil's daughter's life is the gift that keeps on giving to me. And so I invite us to be so much about impact and then responsible about our income. I love helping people who are doing good in the world. I love helping to teach them how to do financially well, because good people should do financially well. Because when good people do financially well, Craig, good people do more good. Okay, I know I get excited. I keep going. You go.
Oh, this was so special. It's funny because I was gonna land the plane with asking you, how can people manifest more money? Because I know it's a trendy topic and so forth. But I think you just nailed it. Chase the impact, and the money will then chase you.
And be responsible about the structure. So I'm a CEO. Like, I took my company public at one time, and you know what's required to do that,
Yes.
right? And so be responsible with the systems. Don't try to outrun or outservice systems. Like, you're a technician in your talent, and then you're a CEO in your business. 2 very different roles. Build both muscles, because if one is in atrophy, key CEO, then you'll be in a very expensive hobby. And I do a lot of things, but I know my hobbies, right? And so, yes, you can attract more income. Be fiscally responsible to your future. If I turn this camera and spun it around right here in my living room, you'd see all my intentions for 2024, both my family, my spiritual, my business, and my financial. Give everything attention. Energy grows where energy goes. You can't just do good in the world without discussing, and how will I create revenue from it? And how do I monetize that? And how do I duplicate that? How do I launch it? How do I stabilize it? And how do I scale it? Very healthy conversation. We have to watch out, because a lot of us who are servant leaders, we don't like to talk about making money because we think it compromises our integrity or it compromises our commitment. Your commitment is your commitment. And as a matter of fact, your commitment to be fiscally responsible to your business is a direct reflection of your commitment to keep doing more good in the world. I can do more good in the world now because I've been fiscally responsible to my business. And so your fiscal responsibility, i.e. your multiple income streams, MIT, it's a whole new MIT, write that down. Multiple income technology, multiple income streams. That is the opportunity for you to leverage your efforts and figure out. I had to take classes and I hired a coach to teach me about money, to teach me about making multiple revenue streams, to teach me about scaling my business. I invest a lot of money in my own growth so that I can keep growing. I wildly, wildly recommend that you spend time in the next 7 days, because it's already this month. It's already, we're already into the year. The next 7 days, looking at all the revenue streams that you can generate over the next 3 to 5 years. Every revenue wheel, I treat it like a pizza, slice it up into slices. And in every slice, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to do this right here in my living room with every single leader that's coming to be in my mastermind. And then we slice this pie up and we put revenue possibilities in every slice. Your goal is to have 5 to 8. And then you give yourself 3 to 5 years to actualize all 5 to 8. And so some are bigger. It's going to take 3 years. Some are smaller. I could do it this year. But having the visual of the 8 revenue streams that you can create in your life, 5 to 8, allows you to think larger, think bigger, and make a longer game plan. And so I'm very much about the business of doing good in the world and the business of transformation as well.
One of the many reasons why I love you so much is because you do such an unbelievable job at blending the transformational and the stuff that really pulls on your soul, but also the tangible strategies to apply them.
Yep.
And you have to have both. There's got to be a blend, right?
And you're always looking at people who only have one. You've gone to conferences where it's all business and it's all linear numbers, or it's all attack, market. And you're like, I do want to do that, but I also want to make sure that people know my intention.
Yes.
And then you've gone to events where it's so woo-woo, everything is mushy and everything is gray. You don't quite know how the transaction occurs. You don't quite know how to monetize this good feeling. You don't know how. I literally, right before our interview, I was doing my revenue wheel. I do my own revenue wheel every year. And my father requires my care now. And to care for him costs, I know the number, $349,000 a year to take care of my dad. He needs 24-hour care. He has 6 caregivers. He like the rehabilitation therapy. It's just, we've never had anything like this. He was in an accident and his life changed. And by the grace of God, I'm in the position to give him the best care, which is why I just moved back to Los Angeles to care for my dad. And so it's a big number. 349 is a big number. So I needed to see it done. And last year, and I'm not saying this to brag, but last year in December was the first time I saw the number. This was a new experience with my father. And my financial advisor said, by the way, Lisa, it's going to take 349. And so when I got the whole number, Craig, it did something for me. I said, okay, I got the whole number now. I need to go make 350 just for daddy. That's just daddy. That's not me. That's not my life. That's just daddy. And at the time that we're recording this, we're just into the first month of the year. I've already made that because I set my intention on it. Right. And I made that at the end of last year because I knew I need to make it for this year and I needed to check the box so I can have peace. Remember, peace is what we're looking for. Grace, balance, and ease. And oftentimes we think if we're high producers, we have to forfeit grace, balance, and ease, and you don't. You should have more of it. And so find out your numbers, work your numbers. Daddy is taken care of. I took care of daddy in December and early January. So daddy's number is done. Now I go for Lisa's number. You know what I mean? And so that's the power. That's the power of creating a revenue wheel and then working the revenue wheel. You have absolute fiscal clarity.
Yeah. And it's difficult to hit a target that you can't see.
Oh, I love you. I love, like, it's like you're like, like
I feel the same.
Yeah, you're just like we literally are speaking the same language.
Yeah.
You know, I always say you can't hit a moving target. Make your target still, and then you can hit it. And so I'm excited for you, and any way that I could support you. I love knowing that you're in the world, that you are, 20 years younger than me. So I love that. I love that we get to anchor. I love that you're a white man and I'm a Black woman. I love that we get to touch the world. Like we get to put our backs to each other. And you don't remember this cartoon because I don't even know if you were born when it came out, but it's Wonder Twin Powers Activate. And my brother and I, whenever we had to team up, we go Wonder Twin Powers Activate. And you're like that. You're my duo twin and I'm your duo twin back to back. You cover that side, I cover this side. And together we can touch it all, whether they need to see it in my package, they need to hear it in your package. They need to hear us together, holding hands, holding hearts, so that they know it's possible to love and heal and grow cross gender lines, cross cultural lines, cross age lines, cross geographical origin lines. Like we take every single line and we cross it. We don't erase it. Like people want to erase the lines. No, don't erase the difference. Show the difference and then show the unity in the difference. I don't want to just have unity with everyone who looks like me. I don't want to I used to tell people all the time, I don't just belong to women. I don't just belong to Christians, and I don't just belong to Black people. I know my assignment. I belong to humanity. My assignment is to humanity. I'm clear about that. So you will never see me exclusive in anything other than humans. And so you are like, you're my human bio match, and it's so delicious because it will be easy. It will be easy to consume that you are my bio match if you were a woman or you were someone Black, but it's beautiful to consume because it shows the soul is asking to be seen.
Man, I love you and I feel the same. This is awesome. Belinda, playing on maybe 1 minute of some fun rapid fire questions, one word answers. We said we are going to get strange. You ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Lisa, favorite movie?
Oh, I got so many that I really love.
Same.
What's the movie where they never can die? And it's they never die. Oh Lord, it's
Not with Tom Cruise.
no, it's the movie where they keep coming back. They never die, and she's a beautiful blonde, short hair. Someone looking at this right now is screaming out the name. And I'm gonna know it as soon as we. That's one of my favorite movies, and
I'm a
out.
movie guy, so now I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies ever, and there's a part two, and it hasn't come out yet, and I'm just looking forward to it. But they never die, and they fight for change in the world, and they go back and show that every major thing that happened in the world, catastrophe, she was there trying to make it better, and she got killed, and then she came back again, and she's exhausted. She's exhausted trying to make the world a better place.
Mm.
And yet it's her assignment to keep going and keep helping the world to be. And until she's done, she'll just keep doing it. And so it's that movie, and I'm going to scream and send it to you.
Yeah,
And
text me after. I need to know.
yeah, you have to, and you have to run and see it.
Okay, done.
Come to my house. I have a theater that I haven't even used yet in this house
Done.
because I just moved here. Let's watch it there.
Done.
What's the name? Okay.
Two final questions, maybe three. Your last meal on earth would be?
Something with cornbread,
Mm.
and it'd be warm, and I'd saturate it with butter. I don't know the meat, but I'd have gravy.
Love it.
Yeah.
Your favorite guilty pleasure?
Uh, oh, oh, wow. I don't know if it's bad, but it's karaoke.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's karaoke and lemon cake.
Mm, love it. Your favorite workout?
I love all things crunches, all things like I love the crunch. I love Yeah, I love the crunch. I love all things crunch, and my most favorite activity that people don't even call I don't call a workout, is swimming.
It's a good one.
I swam competition. And I did synchronized swimming, believe it or not.
What chapter was that in your book? Book of Life.
Synchronized swimming. I was 15. I was the only little chocolate girl in the pool, and uh, and the pool was my babysitter. My mom, I had to go at 9 a.m. and I couldn't leave the pool until 5 p.m. because we couldn't afford a official babysitter, so I had to stay in the pool all day. So I became a synchronized swimmer.
I love it. Love it so much. Your favorite book, not including one of yours.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Cool.
And oh, by the way, when I talked about your obituary
Yeah,
and who's going to speak, that's from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It changed my life when I was 25.
love it. And the final one, very deep. Your favorite musician.
What makes that hard is that you want me to pick one.
Told you it was gonna
Oh,
be tough.
huh?
I told you it'd be tough.
It is. That's just not fair.
Who comes to mind?
Well, can I tell you my favorite song that's driven me all these years?
Absolutely.
I'm a hustler, baby. And I want you to know it ain't where I've been, but where I'm about to go.
Fair
So
enough.
that is probably my most quoted artist. And for so many years, I swore it was Nelly, only to find out it was Jay-Z.
It's so fun.
Only to find out. I sang that song, I'm a hustler, baby, and I want you to know it ain't where I've been, but where I'm about. I sang that song when my office was in my closet.
Mm.
My walk-in closet was my office for 4 years. And I had mirrors hanging up so I could make the closet seem bigger. And I would sing that song.
This was so good. I'm so
Mhm.
much better for this conversation. So much
Mhm.
value. I can't wait to build a friendship. We're gonna put all this stuff in regards to the speaking challenge in the show notes and so forth. Lisa, hang up for 1 sec. I want to connect with you after. I want to know you the definition of authenticity, transformation, and courage. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless, juicy nuggets today.
My pleasure. It's been a pleasure and honor to not only be here with you, but it's an honor to be on to walk the planet at the same time as you. I am your sister in the journey, and one, I love learning from you, and two, if there's anything that I can do, let me know, because I love to partner with people and lock and load with people who are doing good in the world. So your family should be proud of you, which I know they are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was amazing,
Mm,
Lisa.
you're welcome. My pleasure. You're a sweetheart.
I really connect deeply with you.
Yeah, yeah, I can see why inside before we met, how you had an experience, and now I have the experience because you really are living inside of that same sense of belief and possibility. And I'm excited that you are where you are and you're doing what you are. And